As we begin this program together, I would like to acknowledge how truly special it is that we are able to share time together today. Through all of the trials and tribulations of the past year, we have managed to come together to celebrate the bridging class of 2021 as they transition from youthhood to young adulthood. Let us allow the sacredness of this space to wash over us and fill us with the joy and wonder for the futures of the bridgers we are about to bless into the next phase of their lives. This group of young people is full of charismatic, intelligent, kind Unitarian Universalists, and we could not be happier to share a faith with them. It is my great honor to begin our service today with the lighting of the sacred symbol which has endured in our faith longer than many of us have been a part of it. It is with that in mind that I light this chalice, igniting the spirit of celebration and awe that we will be dwelling in today.
Months ago, our synergy planning team, Kitty Valbuena, Molly Gottfried, Ellie Ferris, Jenica Davis-Hockett, and me, Stevie Carmody, had one of those magic moments that I've seen happen when planning worship in teams. We were deep in contemplation and conversation about this day, what it meant for bridging youth, and what it meant for Unitarian Universalism. And suddenly, there it was, the perfect metaphor to capture this year's synergy, what moving through this pandemic might mean in the lives of young people. And it came to us as a gift. In the slinky, so much meaning was held for us. The spiral of time and growth, the ever-expanding perspectives we hold, the memories of childhood. Resilience and snapping back, pulling and stretching and growing, getting stretched too thin, and getting a little bent up, tangling up and getting entangled. So our service today and our gift to all the bridging youth is this slinky. It structures the arc of this service. As the slinky starts to bounce and move just as it was made for, we remember too, childhood and those moments of coming into our own in our faith. As the slinky gets tangled up and entangled, we too will remember our adolescence and those times we've gotten caught and snagged. And as the slinky learns to roll in a new way, we too will remember how as we grow into adulthood, we learn new ways to become, incorporating the past, adapting to the future. May this metaphor be a reminder that as we pass from one generation to the next, we are slinked together.
Thank you, Stevie, and thank you for joining us today to honor the 2021 Bridging Youth here at General Assembly. My name is Molly Gottfried. I use she, her pronouns, and I currently serve as the Senior Youth Worship Coordinator for the GA Youth staff team. Thank you to our Bridgers, their families, and friends for being in this space today. Thank you to the General Assembly Worship Arts team for their patience and care in helping us craft this service. Thank you to our wonderful musicians put together by Sonder Choi, which include Sarah Jebian, Bronson Hoover, Javon Haskin, Ryan Humphrey, Peter Mayer, Lisa Riffle in the Lincoln High School Choir, Benji Masser, Janet Daniel, Eleuthera DeConca Lippert, Sam Kirkland, John Meyer, Simone Sanchez, Sam Smith, and Bill Snowden. All of these people have helped bring so much joy to this celebration. Thank you for coming together and putting together arrangements that bring this service to life and unite us all in the power of music. Last but absolutely not least, thank you to the rest of the Synergy planning team, all who have put immense love into every word and breath today. While every bridging group is held with love and honor, we want to recognize some of what this group of young Unitarian Universalists has been through this past year. We are here despite the skies turning red and orange last fall when many of our cities and states caught fire. The impacts of climate change and global warming becoming harder and harder to ignore as they touch the people we love. We are here through a global pandemic and another year of extreme violence against Black, Indigenous, Asian, and Pacific Islander communities and other communities of color. We are here now together, held in love and community. The youth we are honoring today are at the forefront of these movements for social and environmental justice. On top of schoolwork, extracurriculars, and the everyday struggle of being a teenager, we are organizing and speaking out in hopes that someone will listen to our cries. It has not been easy. For some, there have been moments that have felt absolutely impossible, that have been impossible. And yet today, we find ourselves connected, present and ready to celebrate and honor this tradition of bridging. Throughout the pain, we are here together in this holy moment. We know that today's youth are springing up from the fertile soil tended to and nourished by our ancestors. I speak Alandria Williams' name into this space to invoke the spirit and legacy of E's mentorship of young people who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. As a powerful voice in UU youth and young adult movements since the 90s, Alandria's peer mentorship has bolstered and fortified E's contemporaries. As an adult, E's sage mentorship and accompaniment of young leaders made us know that we were understood and valued. The following words come from the United States Federation of Worker Cooperatives. They say, Alandria taught us to resist, to be resilient and to be restored while also reimagining a world beyond the oppressive systems we live in. E also recognized that the work of justice is hard and can be detrimental to our health unless we cultivate cultures of care and restoration. As we grieve together as a community, we remember Alandria's powerful words. What is lifting up my spirit is holding that I am unbound. What is lifting up my spirit is that I will break the chains. What is lifting up my spirit is that I am deserving of a 100% radical love, care, and worthiness, and I will accept nothing less. Alandria, we miss you every day. Thank you for what you gave to our faith and what you continue to give to our faith. Your legacy is remembered and honored in everything we do, and we are carrying E's kinetic energy forward through the coils of time. The twists and tangles of a slinky, the object of which this service is based upon, mimic the twists and tangles of our lives. The knots we have encountered this past year have encouraged us to find new ways to move in this world and new ways to be with each other. Our Unitarian Universalist values hold us where we are. So whether you come here today tired and weary or full of hope and excitement, we welcome you. Just as slinkies fall and stretch towards the ground, only to bounce back up just before breaking, They rise and we will rise. So come as you are, come with your tears and your laughter, your sorrows and your joys, and let us hold you in this moment. Welcome to your 2021 Synergy Bridging Service.
The slinky starts to go down the stairs. What was a defining moment when you feel you really took ownership of your faith for the first time? I grew up Unitarian Universalist, which allowed me a wonderful and strong foundation to grow as a person. But up until 7th grade, I wasn't really aware of the importance which my religion held for me. Church was the place I was brought to each Sunday, and not much more. And then I went to my first middle school con. Cons are weekend-long youth events that are held from region to region. There's activities, workshops, worships, and lots of community bonding. Now, I was a shy child, and as such, was dreading this weekend, where I envisioned that I would be uncomfortable, awkward, and inevitably alone. This clearly was not the case. I quickly found friends and was invited into a community which has become integral to my sense of self. However, it was one specific moment at this con that pushed me past the definition of faith which had been given to me and allowed me to ascribe my own understanding in its place, the worship. At youth events in my region, we have nighttime worships where we enter singing, sit together in a circle with a chalice at the center, and we worship together. This was my first time being at a youth-led worship, but the con leaders had given us a basic idea of what to expect. They told us that worship could be meaningful to people and that it was important to respect the sacred space we were creating. Although I understood how they were asking us to behave and on a surface level why, it wasn't until afterwards that I truly understood what they meant by a sacred space. While we do worship as a group, we reflect as individuals. The quietude of the space allows for a genuine contemplation and creates an inherent sacredness for us. For me, it is a moment of mindful quiet amidst the energetic and sometimes chaotic events of the day, and a chance to revel in the wholeness that I feel while in this community. That worship was my first spiritual experience. It was that night in that dark room, sitting on that wood floor, listening to someone only a few years older than me reading a poem about belonging, that I became the driver of my own faith. And drive I did. I kept going to cons and excitedly anticipated the worships. I would note the differences and similarities between each and every one. I went home to my parents and gave them a meticulous account of the worship and my musings. These worships were my connection to my faith, so you can imagine my delight when I first learned I could plan them. During my first high school con, I attended the workshop where we planned that night's worship. The conversation invigorated me. There was such a depth of thought and so much to consider when planning. It only deepened my connection. We had that worship outside, under the stars. We talked about the wideness of the universe and about our nevertheless significant place within it. Prior to leading this worship, I had thought that the height of my individual spirituality was in attending one. But sitting under those stars as we gathered the chalice and supplies afterwards, I found that I personally felt most connected and engaged in my faith when I served in this capacity. My faith, my spirituality was in my hands, and I felt immense freedom in this. This was something for me to determine. nobody else. That is what I learned during that first con all the way back in 7th grade. And understanding my faith more fully as my own is what I have aspired towards every day since then. As I have grown and developed within this UU community, I always return to that first worship as the beginning of my journey and a defining moment for my understanding of faith. Its significance cannot be underestimated. I am forever grateful for the joy of this community and the contentment my spirituality has since brought into my life. Thank you.
We are able to be here today, connected and engaged in this long-held tradition, even though we are doing it in a totally distanced way, because of the many young people, adults, and elders who have come before us. Our Unitarian Universalist ancestors acted in ways that impacted their future, our present, in meaningful ways. Even though the future might look quite different than what they imagined, unless they were into post-apocalyptic dystopian thrillers, their work inspires and resources us to co-create better worlds. Our ancestors gave the great unfolding a nudge in this direction so that we could be together here today. One such family of ancestors who quite literally made it possible for many young people to be here today is the Tyson family. The late Karen and Herb Tyson and their daughter, the late Katie Tyson, had a dream for youth and young adults to be empowered to live out their dreams, to weave their Unitarian Universalist principles into the fabric of their expanding lives and encourage others to do the same. In the early 2000s, Katie Tyson was a rising leader in our movement. Raised in the Mount Vernon Unitarian Church in Alexandria, Virginia, and an active member in the young adult group at the Arlington Church in Boston, she had aspirations of becoming a UU minister. Filled with enthusiasm, passion, and excitement, Katie worked tirelessly to make our world and her community more welcoming and loving. Sadly, Katie's life ended on a highway in Colorado when she and a friend were returning from General Assembly in Salt Lake City in 2009. She was only 21. A year later, Katie's parents, with the support of Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, the Joseph Priestley District, and other generous donors, established the Katie Tyson Fund for Youth and Young Adult Ministries. The Katie Tyson Fund for Youth and Young Adult Ministries exists to kindle the sparks of leadership amongst Unitarian Universalist youth and young adults. The fund supports scholarships, grants, and youth and young adult projects, conferences, and outreach, and contributed to the Blue Boat scholarships that made GA registration accessible to more youth and young adults this year. The offering today for today's service is going to the Katie Tyson Fund. As you think about however much you're ready to give, know that you are joining the many present and future ancestors nudging the great unfolding towards ever more equitable and accessible youth and young adult ministries. I am proud to ask each one of you to build on and be part of the Tyson family's legacy. There are many ways to donate. You can click on Special Collections in the GA Participants Portal menu, click on Donate in the GA mobile app, text the word Katie, that's Katie, to 91999, or go online to bit.ly/UUA-Katie. An offering from $1 to $1 billion will now gratefully be received.
upholding me, and the great wings urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
In this stage of our life, we often find ourselves twisting and tangling in our relationships and our lives, much like a slinky. When was a time that you experienced this, and how did it affect the path you were on? At the beginning of 5th grade, I had just started at a new school in a new city. Having left behind a close-knit school community and all of my friends, I was pretty nervous. But early in the school year, during recess, 2 girls came up to me and invited me to play with them and their friends. It was really great to meet new people, people who became friends. We got to know each other, sharing about our lives and what we liked to do, inventing new games that we played over and over again. They were both in the school jump rope club, the Sky High Skippers, and encouraged me to join too. I loved trying this new activity and getting to do it with my friends. One day at jump rope practice, I decided to partner up with someone new who I had talked to a little bit, someone I didn't know very well, but who I thought could be another great friend. We had a lot of fun together during practice, learning new jump rope tricks together, and I was excited to keep becoming friends with her and to introduce her to my other friends. I told her all about the things we loved to do at recess, and I told her she could come join us if she thought it sounded fun. And she was excited too. But it turns out that my other friends were not excited. They were actually really mad that I had made a new friend, even though I hadn't been planning to stop being friends with them, even though my plan was to have us all be friends. I always felt like the more friends, the better. But the ways that they treated me made it really clear that being friends with them was not a good idea. They ignored me on the playground, not letting me join in the games we had made up together. They called my house, and when I answered the phone, they would say incredibly hurtful things to me. When my parents stopped handing me the phone when they called, they would pretend to be other people that I knew, just to get me on the phone. I went from thinking they were my best friends to dreading seeing them at school. It was heartbreaking. My new friend and I stayed close for many years after that, making new friends both together and separately. Over 20 years later, I still don't know what it was that made those girls so mad at me for making a new friend. People are complicated. Relationships are tangly, and life is tricky. But this detour helped me be clear about what I need in life. It matters to me that there is an abundance of love and community in my relationships and in my life, because that's what keeps me thriving.
Since the planting of our holy roots in 1793 and 1825, the primary holy ground of Universalism and Unitarianism, and since 1961 of Unitarian Universalism, has been the Church. Around the world, both our Christian and humanist sources are alive in our practice of gathering at church on Sundays for service and community. Our churches have deep foundations in our faith, and they have long been important gathering spaces for our congregations. With each new generation of bridgers, we are seeing a growing diversity in our places of worship. When I bridged in 2018, one of my biggest anxieties was that in the period of transition and fluidity that follows high school, my church-based faith would struggle to provide me the same sense of community that I had as a youth. There was no guarantee that I would find, much less connect with, a church wherever I ended up going to college. And there was no guarantee that such a congregation would have a thriving young adult presence. As my slinky rolled down the stairs, I saw no one to catch me at the other end. What I was not told at the time was the fact that I was not alone in those fears. Not only was there a vast, unaddressed community of young adult UUs across the country, the past 3 or so years since I've bridged has seen monumental efforts by our institutions on the national, regional, and congregational levels to minister to a generation of UUs I unofficially call the nomad generation. A generation of UUs who are finding and creating new places of worship, a practice we have all shared in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Online communities, institutions and groups of all kinds led by young adults, and even our own personal practices are places of worship. As we live and breathe our values, we create places of worship where we are. The ground you are on is holy ground because you are upon it. So much of bridging is about the transition, and rightfully so. And for so long, the change that comes with the transition has been scary because we could see so little on the other side. Maybe it still is. With change comes possibility. There are people waiting on the other side, ready to receive you. You are not just the future of our faith, you are the faith, right here, right now. You are a vital part of Unitarian Universalism, not because you will be an older adult later, but because you are UUs today. In deep honor, gratitude, and awe of the people you were, the people you will be, and the people you are, I offer a blessing in the form of the song Wherever You Go, written for my home congregation by Jennifer Pratt Walter. My congregation sings this song when the children and youth of our congregation move from the main service to their religious education programs. I sing this song for you today as you move from youthhood to adulthood. Wherever you go, go in love. Wherever you go, go in peace. Wherever you go, go in beauty all around you. Our hearts go with you.
We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening.
Bridgers, the moment is upon us. The years and years of your lives, all the tradition and all of the history, all of your experiences, and all of the material of your day-to-day lives arriving in this moment of turning. In wonderment and awe and joy and sorrow, we are here to acknowledge your particular journeys, acknowledging publicly in this place and in this time that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are sacred, and that what you have to give to this world and give to yourself is a blessing. In uncertainty and fear and grief, we are here to lift up the struggles that have been with you, the places and people and parts of yourself that you mourn, and the unknown places and experiences that lie ahead, affirming that truth ever present and ever in need of reaffirmation, that you are not alone. If we had been in person on this day, we would have marked this moment with a physical ritual, moving across a stage that would be our bridge, honoring your name and the name of your spiritual home in public. and welcoming you into young adulthood. Well, we welcome you all the same. You have a place in this faith, and how you continue to discover it will be a great unfolding. We are already in awe of you, and all of us gathered here, your peers, your new young adult friends, your spiritual home bases, your family. We do more than just witness you. We know we are changed by you. If you are a Bridget tuning into the service on your own or with a family or in the company of friends, we affirm that you are part of a whole. It's not just your particular journey that we honor today, but also the collective that is your generation. In a moment, we'll hear and or read the names of some of that collective, observe some of their faces, listen to or read some of their words. These folks represent all of you. You are connected through this denominational gathering, and you are all companions in the future of what yet will be our Unitarian Universalism. So feel our love, receive our congratulations, and know our commitment. And as you watch the ceremony of bridging, I invite you to share into the chat other names and home congregations of other bridgers we honor through this ceremony. Welcome to the next unfolding. Welcome to the next place of growth. Welcome.
Yep. Karen Kelly, Unitarian Church of Montpelier.
Malika Gottfried, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Corvallis, Oregon.
Oriana McCannon, Unitarian Universalist Church of Medford, Massachusetts.
So do that again.
Oscar Newberger, Unitarian Church of Montpelier.
Okay.
My name's Ruby Bryant, and I go to the Unitarian Church of Montpelier.
Yesterday a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town, and they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet to slow the circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. So years spin by, and now the boy is 20. Though his dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. And go round and round and round in the circle again.
When we circle round to our childhood and youthhood, what wisdoms do we find that have persisted as you've rolled on? I was in preschool in the early 90s when early childhood development research was still considered something of a pseudoscience. I have an incredibly vivid memory of a character our teacher at North Dallas Day School invoked to strike fear into the hearts of me and my classmates. The nose monster. The nose monster was a little creature who hid in the upper corners and crevices of our noses. And should we be picking our noses at a time when the nose monster resided in it, he would snatch our fingers up, rendering them stuck inside for the rest of our lives. Our teacher went to such great lengths to convince us that this was true, that she claimed the nose monster did this to her sister, whom she subsequently brought a picture of to show and tell, where her sister had her hand casually rested across her face, kind of like this. Her finger and her nose in close proximity was more than enough to convince a room full of preschoolers of the validity of our teacher's story. 30 years later, it doesn't take extensive education in early childhood development for many of us to receive that story and collectively facepalm. And it really did nothing to curtail the actual behavior of picking our noses. As 4-year-olds, we hadn't yet developed that kind of capacity for forethought and impulse control. It just made us feel more anxious and guilty. Unfortunately, such methods draw striking parallels to the ways in which the concept of sin is presented to young children in many faith traditions. Now, I'm well aware this example is quite benign compared to the trauma that sadly many children of this world have to endure. But my point is that we come into this world as loving and trusting beings until we have experiences that tell us not to be. This ranges from things like the nose monster to far more serious matters. Fear thrusts us into self-preservation mode, and as Yoda tells us, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. So much of the harm and oppression we witness in this world is done in the name of self-preservation, and often a delusion of self-preservation. With that said, Unitarian Universalism is an invitation into what we already know within the core of our being. The knowledge that we were endowed with before forgetting it in our confrontations with monsters, both real and imagined, which tells us that we are autonomous creatures, yet completely interdependent with one another. That we are surrounded by love and made of love. The oxytocin produced in our brains when we receive human touch, something we have been so deeply deprived of in this pandemic, is living proof of that. And finally, that when we behave in harmful and oppressive ways, we're harming ourselves in the process. In 1989, the year before I was born, Unitarian Universalist minister Robert Fulghum published the instant classic, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Among the learnings, he writes, share everything, play fair, don't hit people, clean up your own mess. When you go out into the world, watch for traffic, hold hands and stick together. Nose monsters aren't real. Okay, I made that last one up. But finally, and most importantly, everything you need to know is in there somewhere. Perhaps it has always been, even before kindergarten, before you became civilized. So as you go out into the world and you face challenges, certainly it's important to have boundaries and some self-protections, especially those who face deeper marginalization. So watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. But in the words of T.S. Eliot, don't cease from exploration. And the end of all your exploring will be to arrive where you started and know that place for the very first time. That place resides in the stillness of your heart that existed even before your birth. And you may just hear a voice coming from it. One that says, you are loved, and don't be afraid.
The moment of bridging is a question posed to our whole community. Bridging asks the question, as our young people show up in our communities in new ways, how will we show up for them? Will we change alongside them as they roll on? To us, the General Assembly, the congregation of congregations, I charge us to extend a network of hospitality and welcome to bridging youth, whether they're staying put or going forth into a new community. Practices of hospitality mean asking the question, what do you need? And offering the responsiveness and openness that comes from really listening, that type of listening that communicates. We are and will be changed by you. And it means offering practical care to and for young adults. Rides to worship services and actions and home from jail, meals and fellowship. It means checking in regularly and sending along those lovely care packages. Your youth and young adult staff in the Office of Lifespan Faith Engagement is here to partner with you in this hospitality and support for youth and young adults. Get connected. We'll be sharing that information with you. In that spirit, I charge us to recognize and engage with the unique and crucial faith formation phase that is the beginning of young adulthood. Now is a time when Unitarian Universalist young people are encountering and wrestling with an often harsh and dehumanizing world. Young people need the ministries and theologies of Unitarian Universalism in conversation with their experiences, the clarity of our liberatory values, and the solace of faith community to hold us in this growth. I charge us to take seriously the leadership and brilliance of young people themselves within our communities. And when we say you are the presence of our faith, that means co-creating decision-making tables that take their voices seriously. That means valuing their labors of leadership. That means nurturing and offering sustenance to them so that they may abide in their faith for the long term. I charge us then to remember our history and to put our resources where our commitments are. I charge us to invest in and support young adult ministries within our congregations, at local campuses, and within your clusters and across our regions and continent. We see the good work of Unitarian Universalist young people rebuilding and rejuvenating their movement for themselves in community. We ask that our broader Unitarian Universalist community support the good work of young adult ministries like the Young Unitarian Universalist Project and the Young Adult Revival Network. We ask that we break the cycle of disinvestment in ministries to young people. The moment of bridging poses a question, and it will keep posing this question year after year. Commit and recommit and repair and grow. This is our work. This is our charge. If you, the gathered congregation of General Assembly, will commit to this charge, speak aloud at home and write in the chat an amen, and I will, a blessed be, or whatever affirmation sings from your heart. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Our Synergy Bridging worship as we started, in awe of the sacredness and wonder of this life transformation.
May we carry the commitments and care we have celebrated in worship today through the commitment and care we bring to our faith and our world. We extinguish this chalice with the fire alive inside of us.
And we close today by singing Wo Ya Ya. Would you please join us now in singing this song of faith and resilience?
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get